there, Ariana from Crafting Happiness here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet the front side loop stitch for amigurumi. So I'll be crocheting the loop stitch in a round. As you can see from my sample, I have made a circle and I've used the front side loop stitch to create this really fluffy texture. So the difference between the regular loop stitch and the front side loop stitch, it's the direction the loops are made. In a regular loop stitch, your loops will come on the other side, so on the side that is facing away from you, and you are working on the wrong side. In amigurumi, when you crochet any amigurumi piece, you are crocheting on the right side, so you need these loops to face you. And there's a different method of creating them, and I'll be showing you in this tutorial. I'll also show you how to increase when creating the front loop stitch, and also how to decrease. So you can crochet, for example, a fluffy ball or anything, any shape you like. So let's get started. For this tutorial, I am using Aran yarn and the 5mm crochet hook. You can use any yarn you like with a matching hook. Let's start by making a magic ring, and we are going to follow the pattern for a classic amigurumi circle, except we are going to make a loop stitch instead of single crochet stitches. So your regular amigurumi pattern might say make 6 single crochet in the magic ring. We will be making 6 front side loop stitches into the magic ring. To make a front side loop stitch, hold the yarn as usual, and then with your thumb go behind the yarn and pull forward a loop, and then hold it down together with your work. Then move your needle behind the yarn and into the magic ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops like you would make a single crochet. And this is your front side loop stitch. Now like I said, we need 6 into the magic ring, so let's make 5 more. And again, hold your yarn as usual, with your thumb go behind the yarn, pull up a loop, and depending how big your loop you want it to be, you can pull a bigger loop or a smaller loop, and then go behind on the other side of the yarn and behind into the magic ring, then yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops, and again we have made another front side loop stitch. Let's make 4 more. So that's our 3rd one. Fourth one. Fifth one. And the last one, the sixth one. Okay, so now we have these 6 stitches. They look from the back like single crochet stitches, but on the front side you have these fluffy loops. Now we need to close the magic ring, so pull the tail tight to close the hole, and this is how it looks like with the 6 loops. And now we continue, and your regular pattern might say continue in the round without turning, using a piece of yarn or a stitch marker to mark the beginning of the round. What I do is use a piece of yarn, something like this, just to make sure that I know where is the end of the row. And now we continue to make our 2nd round, and usually the 2nd round says to increase in each stitch. So that means you're going to make 2 single crochet in each stitch. Because we are making the loops, we will be making 2 front side loop stitches into each of these stitches. So let's make the first one. So like I said, hold your yarn as usual, put your thumb behind the yarn and just pull a loop and hold it down. Now go on the side of the yarn, and then into the stitch. The first one, it's always a bit iffy. Just push it through. Like so. And then I usually loosen it up a bit and then pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's our first loop, this one. Now we need to make another one into the same stitch, and that counts as an increase. So from 1 stitch it becomes 2 stitches. So again, pull forward the loop, go on the left side of the yarn and into the same stitch. Like I said, the first one, it's always a bit tight, so you might have to push and force your hook through. Okay, like that. Yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2. And now we have made our increase and we have 2 loops, and those 2 loops were made into the same stitch. Now we have to increase in every single of these 6 stitches around. So now we have 5 more, so 10 more loops. And again, pull a loop, go from the left side and insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And try and make your stitches as tight as you can, because in amigurumi you want your stitches quite tight. You don't want the stuffing inside to show. Alright, so let's make another one in the same stitch. And then now we move to the next stitch and we increase in that stitch as well. So pull up a loop, hold it down, go from the left side and insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, release the loop, and again another loop. Just make sure this is quite tight, and then from the side in the same stitch and make your stitch. Again, increase in the next stitch. So that's 1, and now we're making the second one. Move to the next. That's your first stitch, and then the second stitch in the same one. Right, and now we are on the last one, and we know it's the last one because our yarn is right here. So this is the end of the round. That's why it's good to have a piece of yarn to separate the beginning and the end. It's better than counting stitches all the time. Right, so an increase in here, and this is our second row, and you can see it's nice and fluffy, and from the other side it's quite tight. Now let's continue with the third row, and in your regular pattern you will have a single crochet followed by an increase, and then a single crochet followed by an increase. We can do this with a loop stitch. It's basically the same. So let's finish this row as well. So put your yarn bit in between so you know where the beginning of and the end of the round is, and continue to crochet. And we will start with a single crochet, which in this case is 1 front side loop stitch. So pull your loop, yarn over, make your stitch, So that's one. Now into the next stitch we have an increase, so two loop stitches. So again, pull a loop, go from the left into the stitch, pull up a loop and pull through, and into the same stitch another loop stitch. And now we continue like that to alternate one loop stitch, two loop stitches, one loop stitch, two loop stitches, and we do that all around until we reach the end of the round. So now we do one loop stitch, then in the next two. Then again one loop stitch, and in the next we do two. Next one loop stitch, and then two loop stitches in the next, and so on until you reach the end of the round. One loop stitch, and then a loop stitch increase, I guess you can call that a loop stitch increase. And again, now we are on the last repeat, one loop stitch and a loop stitch increase. Okay, there we are. And now, as you can see, you can work in the next stitch because you have this yellow piece of yarn that indicates that we are done with this round. So we can continue on round 4. I will be making one more round and then we start decreasing, and I'll show you how the shape forms. This is what we have so far. You can see it's quite tight on the back, so you can stuff it and you won't see the stuffing. The loops will prevent you to see the stuffing anyway, but work as tight as possible. Right, so now we start round 4, and in round 4 your regular pattern will probably say make 2 single crochet and then increase, then make 2 single crochet, then increase, and repeat that all around until the end of the row. So this way with our stitch we make 1 loop stitch in next, 1 loop stitch in next, and then a loop stitch increase in next. And like I said, to make a loop stitch increase you need to make 2 loop stitches in the same stitch, like you will make 2 single crochet in the same stitch. So put your yarn, pull your thumb behind the yarn, pull a loop, insert from the side your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through 2, and into the same stitch pull up a loop with your thumb, insert your hook from the side into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And this is your loop stitch increase. You have 2 stitches into 1. Now again we'll repeat 1 loop stitch in next, 1 loop stitch in next, then loop stitch increase into the next. So make 1 loop stitch and into the same stitch make another loop stitch, loop stitch in next, and loop stitch increase into the next stitch. And we repeat this all around. And like I said, you control with your thumb how big your loop will be, and also you control the tension with your hand, so you can have it tight like this or release it and have it looser, and you can pull a longer loop. It's all up to what the pattern requires. Okay, so now we need to do a loop stitch increase, then one loop stitch in next, one loop stitch in next, loop stitch increase in next, which is 2 loop stitches. And now I think we're down to our last repeat. Make 1 loop stitch in next, 1 loop stitch into the next stitch, and 2 loop stitches into the last stitch in a round. That's 1, that is 2, and this is what we have so far. It's quite fluffy. This is the back side. And now I showed you how to make the loop stitch increase. I will start decreasing just to show you how to decrease when making the front side loop stitch. So again, pull up your piece of yarn, pull it through in front of your last stitch, like so. And now let's go on to round 5, I think we are. Let's say we need to decrease. What we have to do is decrease after every 2 stitches. So we make 2 stitches, 1 loop stitch, 1 loop stitch, and then we decrease, and so on. So let's start with the regular loop stitch. Let's make 1 in next, then we make 1 into next one, and then the pattern might say decrease. Then what we need to do is turn 2 stitches into 1, but at the same time we also need to create a loop stitch, so we don't have a gap into the pattern, so we don't have like a blind bare spot with no loops. All right, so to make a loop stitch decrease, you need to turn 2 stitches into 1, and to do that, pull a loop with your thumb, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and stop there, don't complete it, hold it with your thumb, and with your other thumb pull another loop forward and insert the hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you have 3 on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3, and now you have made 2 loops, and you also decrease, which turn 2 stitches into 1, and this way you don't have a gap in your pattern. And this is how you crochet the loop stitch decrease. So let's continue, and again we will do 2 loop stitches followed by a decrease. So do 1 loop into the next, then another loop into the next stitch, and now it's time to decrease, so we need to turn these 2 stitches into 1, but also make loops at the same time. So what we do, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, stop, don't complete this stitch, take your finger out and hold it with the other thumb, then pull up another loop forward, hold all of them with your thumb and go from the left side and insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. Now we have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and again we have made these 2 loop stitches, but we also decreased at the same time. And you won't really see these stitches, that's why I'm not doing the invisible decrease, because it will be covered by the loops, you won't see what's underneath. So we will just go with the classic decrease. And again, another loop in next, loop stitch in next, another loop stitch in next, and again we are going to decrease. So pull up a loop, insert in a stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull out, hold it with the thumb, pull up another loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop. Now we have 3, yarn over, pull through all 3, and that are your loops, and they They're quite secure there. And now again, let's finish this row round, and I'll show you how it looks like. So again, loop stitch in next, loop stitch in next, and then loop stitch, decrease. And again, loop stitch in next, loop stitch in next, and then a decrease. All right, and then I think we are down to our last repeat. Loop stitch in next, and loop stitch in next, and into the last 2 stitches we are going to decrease. So that's 1, that is 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And this is our 5th row. This is how it looks like. You see how it's starting to curl. This is the inside and this is the outside, and this is how it looks like, nice and fluffy. And this is quite handy when you're making amigurumi pieces like hair or flowers or anything like that. So yes, this is how you make the front side loop stitch, and this is how you increase and decrease when making the front side loop stitch in the round for amigurumi. I hope you found my tutorial easy to follow. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below. I am more than happy to answer them and help you if possible. Happy crocheting!